think I made that tweet big enough on the screen for everybody to see what's up, didn't I? Well, let me turn the music down. Sorry, everybody. Sorry.
This is like Street Fighter 2 music. Street Fighter 1.
Dude, this is the jam for Fantasy NBA Today.
I'm going to kick somebody in the head.
That's from Slick Rock on Twitter. Shout out to Slick Rock, one of our guys here, also a mod in our Discord. But guys, it happened. It happened. Brew. Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm so happy. I did not want this break in like a week before the season started.
No, nobody wanted to wait. And we all were, with the exception, I think, exclusively of fans in Miami, kind of rooting for Dame to go somewhere else.
I haven't seen a Miami fan in a bit here.
Well,
I kind of want to see a Miami fan right about now.
Well, I have already done 2 podcasts today, but you know what?
Hey, you know what? Phoenix is the ultimate wild card in the league right now.
Yeah, are they? Because well, everybody can see what's on the screen. Let me read it out for folks. Damian Lillard traded. That's obviously the breaking news here. Damian Lillard headed to the Milwaukee Bucks in the first part of this deal. The Blazers get Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton. So we've already sort of tipped our hand that the Suns are involved here. I'm going to muck up some names here if we get into the weeds, but I think that's Toumani Camara, 2029 first round Bucks pick and a Bucks pick swap. And the Suns got Nurk, Nas Little, Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen. So there are really pieces going in almost every direction, with the exception of what the Bucks get out of this. That's everything is out and Dame is in. The question, we have a lot of questions, but okay, let's just start at the top. Damian Lillard is now a Buck. He takes the place of Drew Holiday effectively on that team because they can figure out what to do with the roster spot formerly occupied by Grayson Allen. That shouldn't be too tough for them. Does this make the Bucks significantly better? I'm giving you an opportunity for a real hot take here right out of the chute. I mean, obviously, offensively, Dame is not unparalleled, but pretty amazing. But I mean, Drew Holiday was I think he was the Bucks' best plus-minus guy last year. Okay, I don't want to get too far into that. Brew, what does this mean for Damian Lillard? What does it mean for the Bucks?
I like how hot takes or basketball analysis is referred to as a hot take. I mean, you want me to tell you what I think? I think that that this does make the Bucks better. I mean, did we watch the playoffs last year with Dave or Drew Holiday completely forgetting how to play basketball?
Yeah, that was weird.
And then, you know, I'm sure we'll hear more about Drew and there's just sort of this kind of you know, just sort of fog around him, retirement murmurs. You know, I doubt those really had much to them, but what was really going on with Drew at the end of last season? You know, Mike Budenholzer lost his brother at the end of the playoffs, and that collapse was as Sunsy, you know, as we've seen. You know, and so I guess that's kind of interesting that these two teams are involved. But one of the key questions with Milwaukee has always been, what will they do with the ball? Chris Middleton's always been so great for them. You know, peak Drew Holiday has been great for them in that regard, because the one thing that's always dogged the Bucks is Giannis dribbling up and doing something suboptimal with the ball and playing into the things that other teams want him to do. So now you bring in a guy who is pretty rock solid in that regard. I don't think Dame Lillard is losing basketball tempo anytime soon. The range, I mean, just thinking about as we were going up live with the show here, I was just thinking about the ways that this makes the game easier for Giannis. He's going to be able to do all sorts of things that you would love to do with a player of his type. Cuts, you know, off-ball stuff where, you know, the defense has to commit to Dame first, and whoa, here comes Giannis. So that's just going to be an amazing thing. And defensively, you've got Brook Lopez back there, and then you have Giannis behind him, and a number of other players who can also contribute on that end. So I just think this is a great thing for the Bucks. I was questioning their ability to win another title because I'm a little bit down on Chris Middleton. We'll see how he has bounced back, if at all, this year. So this brings their window to now, which makes that 2029 first round draft pick pretty interesting for the Blazers, because there's just enough time there for them to exhaust their window, Who knows? Maybe Giannis goes to play for somebody else after the next couple of years, and then that pick could actually be worth quite a bit. So the Blazers putting the hand up to Miami, getting more than the package that's been discussed with Tyler Hero. You know,
what was it? A whole hand that they showed Miami, or was it just one finger?
Yeah, it was definitely that, and I don't know. You know, Miami. We'll have to see the kind of post-mortem on this thing, and I'm sure everybody will race to protect their sources on this one, but they needed something to put them over the hump. And Damian Lillard was a great piece to do that. Did they have anything else that they could have given that would have sweetened the deal? Probably not. You know, maybe they could have gone down the road. I'm not completely familiar with their future draft pick situation, but they definitely, you know, if anything, they set the tone for future negotiations that other teams know that they're not going to budge. And that maybe has value to them, but they lost in this one. And, you know, I'm kind of curious how those Heat fans are taking it.
I'm guessing not great. So what about fantasy wise? Let's start with the Bucks. Dame, thinking back to last year, I mean, he was the number one player in 9-Cat for the second half of the season before they shut him down. But that's not because that he magically changed his game. It's because he was taking 22 shots and 12 free throws a night. His usage was absurd. What Dame do we get in Milwaukee? Can he come anywhere near the usage he had in Portland, playing alongside Giannis and Middleton? And I don't want to take Brook Lopez out of the equation. He's not a high usage guy, but it does seem like there are more dudes alongside him now that take shots.
Yeah, I think they're going to bend around him. I mean, you're not putting Damian Lillard out there for his defense, that's for sure. I think they'll be wise enough to tap into Dame for what he's good at. You know, I think he gets into that sweet spot. You know, players that get overextended with usage, sometimes it's good. You know, as you mentioned, it was good this last year, but it's not sustainable over the long term. Something usually bad happens when these players get just, you know, released to do whatever it is that they want. I'd say 1 out of every 3 truly hits that sweet spot of the max usage plus not max, but like not getting crushed on efficiency without having some sort of injury, without having some sort of shutdown. Because again, if this is happening, it's probably likely the team's not contending. So I think he just fits into a better place. I think his efficiency goes up. You know, he's kind of the Dame of old, and it's a good time to draft Dame Lillard, I would think, you know, in relation to probably perceived value, though this trade will be a little high profile and it might pump him up a little bit, but maybe the market goes the other way and people think that, you know, because he's next to Giannis, because he's next to Brook, that he starts sinking a little bit. But I do think Milwaukee's going to fashion their entire offense around him. So that's to the extent that Giannis goes second. Like Giannis is now the 2 on that team. And I think Giannis is going to embrace that. Like he's miscast as a lead ball handler. I think we all know that. He's going to be able to do a lot of Giannis things now, you know, the kind of unstoppable stuff that people can't game plan for simply because there's a guy who's going to draw double coverage, who knows how to deliver a pass and knows how to get him in rhythm.
And can shoot from 35 feet away.
At that alone, I mean, we're talking Drew Holiday versus Dame Lillard on that front. It's a night and day difference.
Well, I'm glad I got in on the Milwaukee season win total over, because that's headed in the upward direction when this all shakes itself out. Off the board right now, to no one's surprise. So do you think Dame can maintain a first round fantasy valuation then? It sounds like you're saying yes, that he's not really taking it.
I mean, can is a little bit of a you know, easy landing spot there. Yeah, he can. Will he? Just, I think health. If he plays 75 games, yeah, absolutely. If he plays 72 games, I think he'll hit it. If he plays 68, now it's kind of borderline.
Because I think you probably see happen what I said in the initial question, which is I think people probably look at this and say he's playing with higher usage guys than he had around him in Portland lately. Anthony Simons, I know he took a bunch of shots, but he wasn't really like a lead ball handler. Jeremy Grant took some shots as well, but everything on that team started and ended with Dame basically since CJ McCollum got moved. And now there is this other stuff to contend with. I don't know. I mean, do you think he can really get to 20 shots in that with Milwaukee? That's asking a lot.
It's asking a lot for anybody.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't know. I want to see how much they run. That might help things a little bit, but maybe. How's that for a hardcore hot take? Maybe.
Nice slice of maybe there. Let's move
I
over to
don't want to, I can't be releasing this stuff right now, Dan.
Oh, really? Wait. Oh, really? All right. Well, let's talk about the Suns then, because I actually think the Blazers are the most complicated element of this, because there's still questions about whether or not this is a go for it year for them. And this is, they traded Dame, but they didn't get junk back in the deal. So we'll go to the Blazers last. Excuse me, this is podcast number 3 today, so the voice is a little dry. The Suns get Yusuf Nurkic, Nas Little, Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen in this. They got deeper and switched DeAndre Ayton for Yusuf Nurkic. It's possible that Grayson Allen could compete for a starting spot. I guess it's possible Nas Little could as well. Let's talk 12-teamers with the Suns. Are any of the 3 non-Nurk names I mentioned, Brew, are they hitting your radar in any meaningful way?
I mean, Grayson Allen does to some degree. He's a player that should play in the NBA and produce, but no. I mean, that team's loaded with usage guys, and no. Like,
no.
They're taking a philosophy here that you can't have too many wings, and that's they're just a strange. What's that?
It's a reasonable philosophy in the modern NBA. The Clippers have basically done that.
Yeah, you know who did it and kind of like poked holes in the theory was Brooklyn. When they got to the playoffs, they just got smacked. Granted, they ran into Joel Embiid. That's the counter to that, obviously.
Yeah, and the Suns have Kevin Durant, who used to be on Brooklyn. So there's that guy. No one's guarding Kevin Durant, so that's a different element. But I mean, strictly from a fantasy standpoint, it sounds like your answer is basically nah.
Yeah, each of them has to compete with players that may be better than them.
That's not a great spot.
Multiples. So yeah, no.
All right, Nurk is next on the board, but before we get to him, I want to remind everybody, if you're checking this out, if this is how you have now found us here at Sports Ethos on YouTube or in general, please take a moment to click the thumbs up, subscribe to our page. You can see all sorts of amazing draft content, and we had a bunch of football content prior to that season getting started. Really cool stuff happening over here all the way around. Also, if this is your first interaction with Sports Ethos, if it's your first, it's not going to mean anything to you, but it's a big day for us, dang it. We dropped our first ever fantasy draft tracker, which is available in the Fantasy Pass over at sportsethos.com. It will be powered by the Brewski 150 engine when that goes into your specific subscription. So head to sportsethos.com, get yourself a premium plan. The NBA Fantasy Pass would be a great entry point for a lot of folks. You'll get that draft tracker, you got the draft guide, and you'll get the B150 in the very near future, constructed by the gentleman on your screen, Mr. Aaron Brewski, whose face is just below mine. Let's get back into Nurk, because I assume all of you clicked the thumbs up button when I just asked you to a moment ago. Nurk was kind of a popular late flyer type in Portland. He just, we know he went through family stuff, tragedies during COVID. He himself became wildly out of shape, never really quite got back into shape. Is this trade the Nurkic wake-up call, or is this the Suns trusting in center depth? Which way do you pivot on that one?
No, I think this is a good thing for Nurk. I'm not sure it changes more than marginally, your outlook for him. Maybe you thought in Portland he was going to go a little wild, with a thin team there, but him being surrounded by stars, he will know his role. He will come to work to play that, position, and I think it will be better for every aspect of his game. I don't know that it's going to result in better fantasy value, but he survives on a lot of cuts from teammates, and it makes him a good assist center. I think that, they don't strike me as great cuts guys there. Beal probably a little bit, Booker probably a little bit. They're not like high flying cuts guys. Kevin Durant, I don't think he's trying to fly to the rim. So some of these baseline cuts that really are, part and parcel, part of the dribble handoff, stuff that Nurk is really good at. So that part might not be there, but I just think that, for whatever reason, they didn't like DeAndre Ayton. That's its own story right there.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that they're going to appreciate a guy in Nurk who can distribute a little bit better and, just be this like kind of focal point to get things going. And when I say that, I mean, they're not going to really run action for him, but they'll run action through him to get the ball moving. That's going to be a big challenge for them in Phoenix, is getting the ball moving side to side. Beal has a little bit of experience doing that. I wouldn't call Booker like a bad passer per se. He doesn't strike me as a guy that doesn't understand passing. He just is good at shooting, and he gets whatever shot he wants, so he just goes for it. But with Nurk, they can pitch it to him at about 18 feet. He can pitch it right back. There's a screen, get guys moving and be the secondary action guy, get some mismatches. I bet he's better on the offensive glass than he's ever been or close to it. So I think he'll be more efficient. And then, the numbers probably hover pretty close to what he would normally do. But the last thing on Nurk is I think that he probably has a better chance of staying healthy for this squad. Just knowing the stakes are so high. This is a second lease on life for him, in terms of real big time NBA basketball. So I would think that would motivate him to come in shape. We'll see how it goes, but I'm probably a little bit happier if I had to draft Nurk, which I probably wouldn't. I would be a little bit more apt to.
You're inching towards a maybe.
No,
it
just depends. He's always so overdrafted that, don't really get a shot there.
Yeah. By the way, these are the Twitter handles on your screen. I wanted to enlarge those a tiny bit so folks could see them more clearly. At Dan Vespers, at Aaron Brewski. Make sure to follow each of us over on social media, because we have other things we want to talk to you about that we won't talk to you about on this particular show, and that's the place to do it. The Blazers, Brew, to me, are the complicating factor here because, and I'm just watching our chat room scroll by, the conversation is, are these players to keep or not? And I personally don't know, because the Blazers right now, with Drew Holiday and DeAndre Ayton in there instead of Dame and Yusuf Nurkic, they're worse, but they're not like bottom of the barrel bad. They still have multiple competent NBA players. I would argue like 4 pretty good basketball players, a rookie they're extraordinarily excited about. Do you think the Blazers are in the process of blowing it all the way to smithereens, or are they going to run some of these bodies out there this year?
Man, I think they probably are doing a little bit of both. Like they're going to look at options, look at moving Drew Holiday. I think they want to keep Ayton, which frankly, there's something we all don't know, and I just don't know what it is. The we don't know is either that Phoenix doesn't know left from right on this, or Ayton's just kind of hard to work with for whatever reason. Monty Williams doesn't strike me as a bad, judger of character or basketball, and he seemed to be at odds with Ayton the entire time.
Yeah, the whole time. There was always something. Yeah,
and then Ayton, going back to the playoffs, the year that they collapsed, he looked like a top, the third best center in the league behind Embiid and Jokic.
That was crazy. He was amazing in that run. And it did not stick.
Yeah, for something, I mean, was it Sarver? You could possibly look at like, did Sarver and that whole organization, did they mess things up? Did they, put whatever in the water and it just got bad? I don't know. But Monty not being on board spoke volumes. And, it's possible he's just a little bit immature. And the question would be, does that ever fix itself? If it fixes itself, then maybe this is just an amazing steal for them. I would make the move to check into DeAndre Ayton to see if this is an just a simple immaturity issue. And then the question is, can you broaden out his game, make him more of a focal point, and actually trust him to be either like a number one was kind of how he got brought into the league. He looked like he had number one potential in that playoff run. Now I think the dial has slid back to 2. Can he be a competent number 2 for a winning championship contending team that, pairs well with, somebody else on the perimeter, and you can play inside out through DeAndre Ayton? Defensively, it's probably, you want to get this thing going sooner rather than later. I'd say in about a year or 2, he's going to start to be a liability on that end. But for Portland, you were looking at Tyler Hero and change, to pull this off, whether you keep him or you flip him. I think Drew just not going on a lot here. I would think that might be the piece that you see get moved. But then again, Drew mentoring Scoot, mentoring and putting a defensive guy in this backcourt so these other guys just don't get run over every night. I mean, sorry, Anthony Simons isn't going to cut it, against a lot of guys in this league. Scoot, physical, maybe he can cut it. But asking him to cut it as a rookie while you also are asking him to develop at a high level on the other side of the floor, it's asking a lot. So getting Drew in there and just taking the pressure off those two guys, and he'd probably be more than willing to set the table for him. This is a guy that's never been a shoot first guy, except those weird times that he wanted to be. That's the weird thing with the game is sometimes he just turns it on randomly for 10, 20% of the time. But for the most part, a very passive player, willing to let those guys go get their numbers. I think it could work. The wisdom of it, in this sort of, you're either in the tanking discussion to get a top pick, or do you play and win? I'm kind of an anti-tanking guy. It just depends on what hand you've been dealt. If you've got a really bad team, I don't see swimming upstream, to avoid like a Victor Wembanyama. They got Scoot this last year. So the wisdom of that, people can debate that for as long as they want. Are
they bad enough to tank right now? Which is such a weird question.
Not with those two players.
Yeah. And by the way, contractually, Drew Holiday is owed about $35 million this year. He has a player option for next season for $37, I believe, $million. So, anybody that trades for him is likely going to have to assume he's picking up that option for the following year. So he's kind of like a 2-year deal. And I think DeAndre Ayton, didn't he just sign an extension during this last season? Am I remembering that right? I'll look it up while we're talking here. Yeah. Ayton's got 3 years left on his. So, and they just signed Jeremy Grant to a multi-year deal. This is I get it. They might want to blow it up, but it doesn't feel that simple to pull it off. Although someone out there is going to want Drew, even if it's for 2 years, because he's so good at fitting in.
I was just thinking randomly, Dallas, how much would Dallas rather have Drew than Kyrie?
It does feel like a better fit next to Luka.
Yeah, I don't know that that's even a thing that could happen. Who knows? But Drew is a player. I mean, in terms of moving contracts, big contracts, a little bit tough. This is a guy that likes to defend and theoretically will, be fine as a number 3 offensive guy. And a team that's got a 2-year window, that's worth the move. So if Portland could end up flipping him and getting more, they get in DeAndre Ayton and more, plus they got the first in 2029, I believe, Giannis's knee will probably be mush by then. So they might end up getting a good deal for Lillard. So I want to see how it all pans out. There's usually a move after the move, but congrats to Portland. If, as it stands right now, it looks like they did a lot better than people thought they would.
I want to again request people, please click that thumbs up button. There's 12 or 13 likes, and there's 10 times as many of you watching this thing right now. So please, just a handful of you do it. That'll allow more people, I would think, to then find this deal. So let me ask you what might be the hardest question of all, which is, right at this moment, we don't know exactly what the Blazers are going to do. The chat room, people talking on Twitter right now, think they're going to try to move Drew. Like you said, he seems like the one of the two that would be a little bit easier to shuttle along to some other place. Well, we don't know right this second what the actual intention is. Would you draft these players on the Blazers with all the uncertainty hanging over? Like if you had a fantasy draft tomorrow, would you take a chance on Drew Holiday? Because I'm probably just passing that over and thinking, I don't know what's about to happen. And maybe we have more info on like October 21st. But to me, that's too risky of a play to make right now. Even though if he stays and he plays a lot, the upside is pretty large for him because he's no longer sidekick to Giannis.
What are we talking here? Are we talking? Let's play. Pin the tail on the draft board.
Well, he's going around 42 right now-ish in Milwaukee. Let's say that remains unchanged.
No.
Yeah, too risky.
He shouldn't be going at 42. He shouldn't be going at 42, I don't think.
But is that an age thing?
Age, effectiveness, he's not a spring chicken, he's that team. Additionally, I mean, we got to look at Chris Middleton there. Is he going to be good? If so, I actually like Drew better because then he can just kind of chill out, do what Drew does. The floor on that pick is much safer. He's not out there overexerting himself every night. You worry about that stuff as a player puts on mileage because it's just going to show up somewhere in the numbers. It'll show up somewhere in the injury risk. So 42 and are we really expecting Drew to have a re-breakout, and do something, second roundish? It's a tough one. So, 42 I feel like is a high water mark for him. So that's probably a no for me. But where would he fall now? And probably wouldn't fall, with the uncertainty might drop him down to 50.
Yeah,
maybe.
Probably not. Yeah, not too much just because we don't know. If there was a we know, they're trying to unload him somewhere else, he'd probably fall farther. If we knew for sure they were going to keep him, he'd probably not fall all that far. But yeah, there's just this cloud of uncertainty right in the immediate aftermath.
Do we know? I'd have to look at the Portland draft picks. Do we know if they have their pick next year?
I don't have that handy at the moment. Maybe the chat room can jump in and help us out on that.
Somebody source that thing.
Yeah, let's source it. What I'd like to do
$10 on Andre. $10 on Andre.
There's a lot of them watching right now, so somebody's going to have it at the ready. So let's play this game at the end of the show here real quick because we'll start to get into wrap-up mode. First, Brew, can you reiterate where you stand on Dame for folks that weren't listening right at the front end?
Where I stand on Dame is I think that he's going to be used. I think that they'll push players around him, like Giannis and company. I think that they'll use Dame to kind of the highest level. And then I think that will move him back into sort of the optimal efficiency. I think that this is good news for Giannis. I think this is going to help with his efficiency, probably help with his durability even a little bit. Not going to help him with his free throws. Not going to help him with his. I will help him with his turnovers. So
maybe Dame can whisper in his ear about free throw shooting.
You'd think somebody had done that by now, but it could help in the sense that he'll take less free throws. Perhaps I don't know if I'd get fully behind that argument because I really think that the idea of Dame coming off of some sort of a pick and roll. I'm sure Giannis can set all sorts of these. You have a choice. A Dame Giannis pick and roll. You're going to go what? Over because the guy's going to pull from 35. Theoretically, he hasn't been doing that as much. It feels like in this last year, but he's going to pull from 35. So, okay, he's hit 3 in a row. Okay, we'll cover him. And then Dame just slips that thing to Giannis in a 4-on-3. The guy doesn't even need to dribble to get to the hoop.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dunks on people who might draw the and one. So the free throws are obviously a problem for Giannis. You want him to take less rather than more. Who knows if it even matters based on your build, but I do think this is good for Giannis. I think it's good for Dame. Maybe not so good for Chris Middleton. Maybe the Bucks know that. Brook Lopez just kind of goes to the beat of his own drum, as does Bobby Portis. They just lost a couple shots in Grayson Allen, so probably evens out a little bit for those guys. I just think they'll have a better offense, and that's probably good for everybody involved.
All right, quick hitter mode. We got 4, I would argue, big names in this trade. You give me arrow up, arrow sideways, or arrow down, and then we'll put a pin in it, and hopefully I can clip that, and we can use that as a YouTube short or something.
Always efficient, Dan Vespers.
Always efficient, damn it. Plus, it's podcast 3, and I'm about to start coughing dust here if we hang out for too much longer.
Hey, at least he's not crying in a ball on the floor.
That's true. Give me a stomach ailment, and I'll be doing that. Again, at Dan Vespers, at Aaron Brewski. Want to throw that out there one more time before we get to the end of this thing. And of course, please do like and subscribe to our YouTube page here at youtube.com/sportsethos. Brew, Damian Lillard, arrow up, arrow sideways, or arrow down?
Arrow up.
Drew Holiday, hovering in a cloud of uncertainty, up, sideways, or down?
Sideways.
Impossible to know. That one's a tough one. DeAndre Ayton, up, sideways, or down?
Up.
Yeah, feels like it couldn't have been much more down than the way things felt. The all bad vibes situation in Phoenix. Nurk, up, sideways, or down?
Up.
So, all in all, from the sounds of it, you like this as a trade for pretty much every party involved.
Yeah. Good job, everybody.
Yeah. Good job, everybody. I feel like I probably should have just turned the show off after that comment. Brew, anything? Let's sell something at Sports Ethos before we send everybody on their way. What's going on over at Ethos HQ?
Draft tracker. Yeah,
what's that?
No, draft tracker.
I missed it.
Draft
what did
tracker.
you say?
Draft tracker. I think it's a draft tracker. No, it's amazing. It's like, I can't wait to be drafting high stakes leagues with it. It has logic built into it that we're not seeing anywhere else. It's got the B150 projections in the system as of October 4. October 4. So if you get the demo version, any NBA Fantasy Pass member right now has access to the demo version. It's built with consensus stats, spanning Yahoo, CBS, ESPN, I believe. So basically, just get a general sense of what's out there. You can still draft with it. You can still get used to the tool. It's got uptime because it's an Excel-based product. So, if a bunch of people jump on a website and crash the thing, not a big deal. And then you get the B150 projections in there. That with the logic for the drafting itself is a little bit different than you see out there. It's just going to be great. It's going to be phenomenal. Super easy to use. So I can't wait to get my hands on some real money drafts and put it to good use. I'll be using it in some test small money drafts here shortly. Tested it on whatever mock drafts that are out there, and it's just great. So very excited to use it. And then it's the B150 stats are released into it whenever your membership group gets it. So Ethos 360 gets it on October 4, and then each membership, you can see it on the product page where you can actually get this with the B150 stats, which might be the best B150 stats I've ever done.
Our guy Andre, of course, came through. I don't know if he ever rests, but you guys can see it on your screen there. That's the Portland pick situation. Top 14 protected. Larry Nance deal, Andre believes. Thank you for that, because we were not going to be able to look that up while talking a mile a minute here. That's the deal, man. Dame is a buck. The NBA flipped on its head. Hey, Brew, do you think Harden gets moved in the next week or two?
No.
Ooh.
I don't know. I'm not. I choose, not to think about some of this stuff because it's pointless. It'll happen when it happens, but I don't know. It just feels like the Harden one, maybe out of spite from some party.
Yeah,
they're just gonna sit on it, and Morey's not exactly one to move. So we'll see with that. But
there you go. All right, everybody. Hope that got you all started. There will be more as we learn what teams' intentions are with these. And I think the Suns have to cut a couple of players because they're over the roster limit right now, which means some of their veterans minimum guys may be headed elsewhere. Not that that's going to play in on 12-teamers. But again, he is Aaron Brewski, at Aaron Brewski on Twitter. I'm at Dan Vespers. This is Fantasy NBA Today's breaking news special episode. Damian Lillard traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. Head over to sportsethos.com. Check out, what did you say it was called, Brew?
Draft Tracker.
Oh, Draft Tracker. Right. Of course.
Draft
Tracker. Have a great day, everybody. This is my last podcast today because I'm cooked, man. See y'all later.